Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how I made my custom wigs with lace closure. Here I'm going to be using 3 bundles of hair. This is Brazilian body wave from lusciouslocks.com. I have an initial video on their hair and I really do like it so far. I have 3 bundles of Brazilian body wave and I believe they're inches 22 and 24. And this is what I'm going to be using, and also a stocking cap. Now I know my stocking cap looks a little bit beat up, but I was in the process of making another wig and then I changed my mind, so I'm recycling this dome spandex cap, so bear with me. Here I'm showing you the seam of the dome cap and I'm going to be using that as a guide. This is going to tell me where to place my first 2 bundles and where to start and stop. Now here I'm going to be starting my first initial stitch. Now I like to put the needle underneath the dome spandex cap because I don't like to have the knot showing, and I like to double stitch that. And then I'm going to be applying my first bundle with the bundle folded in half. So this is going to save me a lot of time, and because I don't want to take 4 and 5 hours to make a wig, it's actually going to help me to eliminate a lot of space as well. So my first needle or my first stitch is going to go through those 2 bundles, and then my second stitch is going to go underneath those bundles. So first stitch goes through the weft and the second stitch goes around the weft. Also, when I'm starting my initial stitches, I like to do maybe 3 or 4 stitches in the same spot, and this is just to ensure that I don't get any movement when I start to sew around my spandex cap. Now here's a tip that I've learned by making these wigs and a lot of trial and error. If your dome cap has an elastic band that goes around the perimeter of that band, please make sure that you do not sew through that elastic band. Because this wig that I'm making is going to have a lace closure, you have to make sure that your lace closure lays flat and you have a really good fit. And if you're sewing through the elastic band, you're not going to allow for the cap to stretch properly, and your band or your wig is not going to lay on your head the correct way. So please make sure you do not sew through that elastic band. Trust me. Now for this wig, I am not going to be cutting any of the wefts. I'm going to be doing the fold over method. Now when I do the fold over method, instead of me folding over the wefts straight across, I'm going to fold the wefts over in a U shape. So basically I'm going to create a U with each weft, and that's just going to ensure that once I place the wig on my head, I'm not going to get any lumps or bumps in the wig, and that the wefts are going to lay properly and they're going to lay flat on my head. One of the questions that I get asked quite often with making these wigs is how much space do I allow in between each track or every time I do the fold over method. Now that will depend on how many bundles of hair you're going to be using. Now for this wig I'm using 3 bundles and I have a bigger head, so I like to space out my wefts about 2 to 3 inches every time I do the fold over method. If you're using 4 bundles, then that can be maybe 1 inch in between, but because I'm using 3 and I want to make sure that my wig is fuller at the top and around my lace closure, I like to space out my first 2 bundles about every 2 inches apart, and then when I get to my last bundle, they are as close as humanly possible because I don't want to have any spacing when the wind blows, and I want to make sure that my closure is seamless. One of the ways that I do that is I apply my thumb underneath my wefts, as you can see here, and that's going to not only help me keep my wefts in place, but to ensure that I have a 1 inch spacing in between every time that I fold over my wefts. There will be a 1 inch spacing because of my thumb underneath the weft. Okay, so my first bundle is completely sewn in, and as I said, I'm using that stitching that goes across my dome spandex cap as a guide, and that's just going to tell me where my bundles are going to stop and start. So now I'm going to take my second bundle and I'm going to start it right above that line that goes across the cap, and as you can see, The spacing here is going to be about 2 inches, but I'm making sure that I'm sewing in a upside down U. So as you can see, my 2 fingers is going to tell you 2 inches, and I'm making sure now that once I sew in a U shape, I'm going to have enough space to create that seamless look once the wig is applied. I hope that I am helping somebody out. I'm giving you guys some tips. If I am, make sure you thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this so that I know that you guys are enjoying the video. Another question that I get asked all the time is, am I sewing up and over or under and over? Under and up, I don't know. Basically, every time I make a wig, I sew differently every single time. It depends on the cap that I'm using. It also depends on what needles and how thick the weft is. So there is no right or wrong way to sew as long as you are not sewing through the weft. If you sew through the weft, you're going to compromise the integrity of the hair, and it's going to create a lot of shedding, and we don't want shedding on our wigs. So any way that is easy for you, just do not sew through the weft. Now, once I sewed in my second bundle, I'm going to apply my closure. I typically like to apply my closures at the beginning of the wig process, but this was a new closure and I had it to prep it, and I bleached it, or I colored it a little bit, and I tweezed it and all of that just to prepare for this wig. So I'm just going to place it where I need it to be. You can either clip it in place, or you can just use needles or pins. I didn't have anything on hand, so I just had to freehand it. So I'm just going to show you guys exactly where the wig is going to lay, and I'm going to start by sewing one side down, and then I'm going to move to the second side. Now this is a very important process. If your closure is not sewn down properly, the wig is just going to look horrible. So take your time. Like I said, I like to do this first, but I've done this so many times, it was okay. So you're going to start your first stitch again underneath your stocking cap, because you don't want that little knot on the end of your thread to show. And you are going to sew extremely close together. I cannot stress enough how crucial it is for your closure to lay properly on this wig. I'm going through my dome spandex cap, and then I'm going through the lace. So I'm pulling the needle towards myself, and this is going to help lay the closure flat and also make sure that the stitching is close together without ripping the lace. So once I've sewn down the one side, I like to go to the opposite side, and I just do that to make sure that the closure is laying correctly, and to also make sure that it is in the right position. So I'm going to again start underneath the dome cap, and then start at the beginning of the lace closure, and I'm pulling the closure extremely tight. Not so tight that of course I don't rip the lace, but that once the closure is applied, it doesn't move or shift. Now that the sides are sewn down, I like to move to the back, and I just again keep sewing extremely close together, making sure that my closure is laying flat, nothing has shifted, and that is going to complete sewing on the lace closure. Now, once I completed sewing in my last bundle of the Brazilian body wave, what I decided to do, because my closure was not Brazilian body wave, it was Brazilian straight, I decided to take some extra hair that I had in the house, and I wanted to add that to the top because I didn't want it to be such a drastic difference between the two textures, but it worked out perfectly. All I did was take 3 pieces of Brazilian straight hair, and I decided to add those right at the top of my wig. So I'm going to be sewing those 3 pieces around my closure. These 2 pieces that I have in my hand, I'm going to sew them on at the same time just to save me time and also to create the height that I want in this wig. Now I'm going to be using a technique called marrying, and what that means is I'm going to apply the 2 wefts directly on top of each other, and that's going to also save me time, but it's also going to give me a lot of height, and it's going to blend really well with my lace closure, so you don't see that space that kind of separates the closure from the wig. It really just blends right in. So it's a really good technique if you are really low on hair and you want to make sure that your lace closure blends seamlessly. Marry your wefts. So I'm just going to continue to apply these last 2 pieces, and as you can see, I'm actually applying those 2 pieces directly on the lace for added security. Now this is the completed wig. Because my hair was still a little bit wet, I decided to apply some setting lotion or mousse foam, whatever you have on hand. I like to use setting lotion because it's not as hard as mousse, but sometimes you don't have it. So this is by Carrot Hair, and I'm just going to apply this onto the hair, and this is going to help set my lace closure in place and also to get rid of those flyaways that a lot of our closures have. You can either use a wax stick or whatever you have on hand, but I just like setting lotion because it does give the hair a little more body. And I'm just going to comb the hair in place, and as you can see, it looks very seamless. You can't see where the lace closure starts or stops, and that's basically it. So now I'm going to show you how I remove the extra stocking cap. So at this point, you're going to take your closure off of your wig cap and you're going to turn it inside out. Here I'm just showing you what the wig looks like in the inside. Nothing fancy, but I'm going to show you what you do. Now you can just going to take your fingers and kind of separate the lace closure from the excess wig, and I want to put my hands underneath it, and I like to do it upside down so it kind of helps me separate the wig from the dome cap. And I like to take small sections and just cut it until I can actually hold the dome spandex cap in my hand. And this is what the wig should be looking like at this point. You just should see the lace underneath it, and you can put it back on top of your dome spandex cap just to let it dry, because again, I did use some setting lotion, and that is basically how the wig is going to look before it is styled. So I do have a separate video on how I styled this wig. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.